just like that. Let your breathing become slower. Let your thoughts stop trying so hard for a little while. Because tonight, I want to tell you another quiet story. One with glass walls, soft earth, sleeping flowers, and a place that stays warm even when winter has covered everything else. I think you would like this one. It begins on a cold evening, the kind of evening when the world feels silver and still, when windows glow early, when footsteps sound smaller in the snow, and even the trees look as though they are holding their breath. You are walking along a narrow path at the edge of a town, boots brushing over frost, hands tucked into your coat sleeves, the air sharp enough to wake every thought in your head. And yet, all you want is the opposite, to be less awake, less tightly held together, less aware of every unfinished thing. The path bends behind an old stone house, past a wall where bare vines climb in quiet lines, and beyond the wall, through the pale blue dark, you see light. Not house light, not street light, something softer, greener, warmer, a greenhouse, long and narrow, glass panes misted from within, golden lamps glowing through the frost. And because the night is so cold and that light looks so kind, you move toward it without thinking very much at all. The closer you get, the more beautiful it becomes. Snow lies across the roof in a white hush, but beneath the glass there are shadows of leaves, hanging ferns, tall stems, and little strings of light reflected in the windows. The door is painted green, deep green, the color of ivy after rain, and there is a small brass plaque beside the handle. Winter garden, please enter softly. I know that would be enough to make anyone curious, so you open the door, and warmth folds around you immediately. Not heavy warmth, not dry heat, only the living warmth of damp soil, lamplight, and growing things. The air smells of rosemary, jasmine, wet stone, and old wood warmed all day by hidden pipes under the floor. Inside, the greenhouse is larger than it looked from outside. There are narrow brick paths between long tables of potted herbs, orange trees in blue ceramic pots, clusters of white flowers half asleep in the humidity, and glass droplets beating on every leaf. The lamps are shaded in cream linen, their light low and golden. Somewhere water is moving, a small fountain perhaps, or a pipe carrying warmth through the walls. At the far end of the room, among lemon trees and climbing roses, an older woman is trimming dried stems into a basket. She wears a wool shawl the color of soft moss, and when she notices She smiles as though she is not surprised at all. "You found your way in," she says. "Good. It is colder than people admit tonight." There is something about her voice that makes you feel instantly less alone. She sets down her shears and walks toward you with careful hands. Her face is lined in the gentle way of people who have spent years caring for living things. "You must be freezing," she says. "Come sit near the fig tree." So you follow her down a winding path between tables of plants to a small sitting area beneath a tall fig tree growing right through the center of the greenhouse roof. There is a cushioned bench, a kettle on a low iron stove, and a little lamp with pressed flowers inside the glass. You sit, and the woman pours something warm into a small cup. It smells of mint, honey, and something soft and sleepy. "What is this place?" you ask, and she seems to consider the question kindly. "A place for things that do not do well in the cold," she says. Then after a pause, "And sometimes for people too." says, when they have remembered something important among the plants. Would you like me to read one? You nod, and she opens to a page marked with dried lavender, then reads softly. I came into the greenhouse because I was tired of feeling wintry inside. Not sad exactly, not broken, only bare. The woman who kept the garden gave me warm tea and told me nothing blooms just because it is told to. Some things need cover. Some things need quiet. Some things need one gentle room where the frost cannot reach them. I stayed for an hour and left feeling less like a field in winter and more like a seed that had not been abandoned. When she finishes, she closes the notebook and places it back on the table, then looks at you with the kindest expression. People are so impatient with themselves, she says, especially in their colder seasons. They want blossoms in the middle of snow. But roots have their own wisdom. For a while you say nothing. You sip the warm tea. You listen to the quiet ticking of water beneath the floor, and the greenhouse seems to breathe around you. The glass panes sigh softly as warm air meets winter outside. The fig leaves shift overhead, and every plant in the room seems to be resting without apology. The woman stands and gestures for you to follow. Come, she says. There is something I want to show you. She leads you along the narrow path to a small side room made entirely of old glass. Inside are seed trays, sleeping bulbs, bundles of twine, and shelves of clay pots stacked in quiet towers. On the far wall hangs a row of paper envelopes, each one labeled in careful handwriting. For beginnings that feel late, for the tired-hearted, for people learning patience, for those who think they have missed their season. You move closer, and the woman smiles. Those are not seeds, she says. Not exactly. Then what are they? Little permissions, she answers, for people who need them. She takes down one envelope, opens it, and hands you the small folded paper inside. You unfold it and read. You do not need to bloom to be worthy of care. That is all it says, and somehow it is enough, more than enough. The woman watches you for a moment, then guides you back to the bench under the fig tree. She drapes a soft blanket over your knees as though this were the most natural thing in the world. You may sit as long as you like, she says. Nothing in here is in a hurry. So you do. You sit in the greenhouse while winter glows faintly beyond the glass. You watch warm droplets gather and slide down the panes. You smell orange leaves and damp earth, and very slowly you begin to feel less braced against everything, less frozen around the edges, less certain that rest must be earned by exhaustion first. When at last you rise to go, the woman walks you to the green door. Before you leave, she places something tiny into your hand, a single dried jasmine flower wrapped in paper. For a cold evening, she says, when you need to remember warmth is still real. Outside, the air is sharp again, the snow quiet underfoot, but you carry a different kind of weather with you now, something sheltered, something living, something green and patient. So tonight, if you want to, you can imagine that greenhouse again, the glass walls glowing in winter, the fig tree overhead, the woman with gentle hands, the note that told you that you do not need to bloom to deserve care, and you can let your mind rest there a little while, warm, quiet, protected, until sleep finds you softly and keeps you. Good night.